How you doing, everybody? It's George Whittam reporting for Whittam's World. Well, we get some pretty cool stuff on the show to demo, and B&H let me try out something totally unique to me in terms of microphones, and this is a new product, or at least new this year, from Lewitt out of Austria, and it's called the DGT 650. This is a mobile recording studio. It's really a USB mic on steroids, might be a good way to describe it, but this sucker is a unique product because it is a USB mic, but the USB interface is actually a separate box that's attached to it, which gives you more connectivity, more options for connecting this device. So let's take a look at this thing and see what makes it so special. Well, all over the box, for example, it says made for iPod, iPhone, and iPad. So that alone makes this microphone stand apart from many of the other USB microphones that are out there. User manual, very cute little USB memory stick key thing, a pretty robust looking shock mount, a windscreen. This cable has a lightning connector on it. This cable has a standard USB-B connector, or USB-A connector, I mean, for plugging into any standard USB port. A very robust tripod stand. And now let's get to the good stuff. This little box, which plugs into the microphone and provides a bunch more connectivity features. It says right on here, attention, this device has a really powerful amplifier. Check the headphone gain on the microphone and on your computer before using headphones. Honestly, this can cause some serious damage to your ears. That little warning label basically says we've packed a lot of headphone amplifier in this box. So I guess that's a lot of what's behind this little device, why they made it a separate device. It's got a MIDI port. Boy, that's really unusual for a USB interface microphone. The breakout connector for the microphone itself, an instrument input, 1/4-inch instrument input, which I believe also works as a line input, and your headphone jack are all in this little box right here. The microphone. Now, there's a really good reason why they put this label that says front. If they didn't do that, you'd be very confused because many of the microphones that are out there, this little logo marks the front. Usually the logo of the microphone tells you which is the front. But on this particular product, the business end, which has all of the controls on it, is actually the front of the microphone. All right, now we got all these parts out. Let me clear off my desk, get everything hooked up, and start listening to this microphone. Slides right in, and then you twist the knob at the base to lock it into the mount. So what's interesting about this design is this microphone can be used with their little breakout box with the headphone jack and whatnot on it, which, by the way, has little rubber feet to keep it firmly planted on the table. And it also has a Velcro strap to strap it onto a stand. But it can also be used without that. So if you don't need the headphone monitoring function, you can leave that extra little box at home. So as is customary for me, I have not read the manual. Okay? We're just going to plug this thing in and see what happens. It's come to life. I see that the controls have lit up on the unit. So we have an input indicator right here, which tells you which inputs we're using. Are we using a stereo capsule microphone because it has stereo? Are we using the cardioid pickup pattern? Are we using a cardioid plus instrument? Or are we using a stereo instrument input? Those are what we're able to control. All of the controls are done from this one little knob. When we click through, we change the functions that we're adjusting. So as you can see, stereo, cardioid plus instrument, and stereo input. So let's put it on cardioid. That's probably the most common thing that we're going to use. As you can see, we have control over gain. We have control over whether the mix that we hear in our headphones is a direct, right off the microphone, zero latency monitoring, or mostly the return or only the return. So if you only want to hear what's coming out of the computer, you have control over the mix. Then we've got a high pass filter with actually three settings, either off or linear, 80 hertz, which I almost always use, or 160, which I almost never use for voiceover. And then we have our pad, 0, 10, or 20. For voiceover use, 0 is totally fine. I'm going to leave it on gain left, right, or low, high, because that is what I find myself needing to set the most often is the gain. Another interesting thing about this microphone is that it actually has a battery inside. Yes, it does. This is not just a USB bus powered device like many of the microphones that you're going to find in the USB class. This actually has a battery that recharges as a rechargeable battery on board, because the level of the electronics that are in this unit, the additional electronics needed to power this device and also give you a really high headphone output, you're just not going to get the juice you need off of a USB port, let alone the USB port on an iPad or an iPhone. Those USB ports have very low power output, so they've included an internal battery that is charged whenever it is plugged into a USB port. The drivers that allow you to control this microphone from the computer right now are only available for Windows computers, I'm just finding out. OS X computers are not yet supported, so I will not be able to demonstrate the software that they give you with the microphone right now because I'm running a Mac. But that's okay, I'm not too worried about that. Again, I'm mostly concerned about how does the mic itself function and how does it sound. Let me launch some recording software, the venerable Twisted Wave. Go to audio input device and see if it shows up. There it is, the DGT 650 shows up as my inputs. Let's get some audio off this microphone. I'll put it right next to my usual microphone. And I'll speak right over the top of it so I don't pop it too badly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're using the Lewitt DGT 650 microphone from about 6 inches away. It's on the desktop and I'm speaking directly over it. Right now, my gain just about peaks at minus 20 dB. Let's get some more gain. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now the gain is almost all the way up. All but the last LED is lit on the microphone for the gain indicator. And speaking at the volume I'm speaking now, the levels I'm getting into the computer are a little on the low side. I mean, they're peaking in between 12 and 6, which is about what I tell people that they should do when they're recording a voiceover track anyway. But I guess if you're recording a very soft voice, you may not get quite enough gain out of this mic. Let's see what it does when I turn the gain up at full gain. So theoretically, that is with the gain wide open, as high as the gain can go. Check, check, 1, 2. So when I'm speaking with a pretty loud, full voice, I'm still just getting into the red. So if you do a really soft, even, kind of down voice read, your levels are probably going to maybe reach minus 12. Is that a problem? Well, we'll have to find out. As long as the AD conversion's really clean on this mic, should not be that big of a deal. Let's take a listen to the result. Loud, full voice, I'm still just getting into the red. So if you do a really soft, even, kind of down voice read, your levels are probably going to maybe reach minus 12. Is that a problem? Well, we'll have to find out. As long as the AD conversion's really clean on this mic, should not be that big of a deal. Let's take a listen to the result. So theoretically, that is with the gain wide open, as high as the gain can go. So that gives you an idea what we might get out of this microphone just right out of the box. I've got the high pass filter on 80 because there's nothing I want to capture below 80 hertz really in a voiceover track, at least from my voice. And my studio is not the quietest. As you can hear a fan noise in the background, my Mac Mini that I use to generate these videos is vigorously spinning its fans in the background. But that gives you an idea of what this microphone can do in terms of sound quality in reference to my old standby MXL 1006 that I bought back in like 1999 that I do most of my videos with.